Well, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, we are back with you with our next guest, who I can introduce to you now as Andy Ace Harrison. Andy, you're here to join us this weekend to have a chat about a great friend of mine and yours and many, many people here, Barrie Whizzo Williams, who we sadly lost late last year. Barrie was a huge part of Race Retro for me. He, just to remind everybody how he used to heckle us here on stage, how he was always in the audience for every single interview that we did across the course of the weekend. He called himself Grandad, he called himself my granddad. He was a wonderful, wonderful character, and there's not a single person in motorsport that didn't have an affection for Whizzo.
That's correct. We've had more free coffees at this event because of Whizzo than I can sort of share a comment about. We used to wander around the place. Come here, young man, we know this lot. And I'm like, no, I don't. Come here, young man, we'll get a coffee here. He was such a character, and it's a shame he's not here for this year, but great to be here in his honour.
How did you get to know Barrie yourself?
Well, it's a simple one, really. We raced a Mini, and he needed a ride on an event sort of 15 years ago, and he said, young man, I need to be racing that car. And it was like, right, that'd be an honour. And it grew from there. I've always said this, you have people in your life who leave a mark on it, and Whizzo probably left the biggest mark on my life of anybody I've been involved with. He opened a lot of doors for us. We had some fantastic racing, some great stories. We've got up to no good together. We've had some
Are they
stuff.
stories you can tell?
Ooh, I don't know, let me have a look around. Probably not.
Come on, we gotta hear it now. We don't be telling them.
No, it's he turns up at my house and we go around the local hostleries and chatting up the young ladies, or he did. I've dragged him home many a time when he's wanted to stop out. Some of the events we've been to, the after night parties, just a great character. Everybody had time for Whizzo, I've got to say that. You could go anywhere with Whizzo and you didn't have a problem.
Well, the only problem you had was getting to where you needed to be, because you stopped to talk to everybody.
You could never walk, say from here to that door up there, that'd take you an hour.
It would.
He knew everybody. There could be young, there could be young kids, there could be the famous people in motorsport. The great story I've got about Whizzo is a year when I turned up at Goodwood, and he had everybody who's anybody in motorsport surrounding him. We're talking Sir Jackie Stewart, John Watson, they're all around him, and I just waved quietly over the top, and he came out, the fan of these stars, to say hello to me. He just came over, come here, Ace, how are you doing? And I'm like, nobody, what are you doing? You know, he's a fantastic guy.
Certainly is. Certainly was a fantastic guy. Now let's talk a little bit about his career, because he came into motorsport not late in life, but it was always something that he had a huge passion for, wasn't it? And as soon as he could get involved, he did.
He did. I mean, he started in the early days. He did his rallying. I mean, he took the first international win for a Cooper S in his Mini, 120 MMP. And went on that way, and then got into circuit racing. It was really successful at circuit racing, and then did the one thing I did 3 years ago, went into single-seater racing, and I bought the single-seater, didn't tell Whizzo, and then he came to my garage, he said, what's that thing doing there? I said, I'm racing this next year. I wanted to race a single-seater, and quite angrily said I was stupid. He said, I gave up that. He said, I did a season of that, I realised they were dangerous. Unfortunately for him, he'd seen people killed in period and said, you're doing something stupid, get back in your Mini, get rid of that car. And I raced it and enjoyed it, but we're always there at the back of my mind.
Look at this picture that we've got on the screen here. Look at this, guys. A classic smile of Whizzo's, isn't it? What a beautiful picture that is. But that's typical of him. He's telling you to get out of a single-seater, but this man raced up until the very, very end, didn't he? There was no getting him out of a car.
He'd race anything. He'd race a go-kart, he'd race a single-seater.
He'd have raced a truck.
He'd have raced anything. You offer it to him, he'd always get out of it, don't get me wrong, and complain about the steering wheel, the brakes, how it turned, how it went, it didn't have enough power. But then he'd go and drive the wheels off it and embarrass me. I mean, I have another story about Whizzo. We did an event where we was doing a speed event, and I beat him. So I turned up at the next event and stupidly put at the bottom, I signed on, and then put under Whizzo's name, and then big arrow, I'm loads quicker than you. He didn't speak to me all of the event, and I never got near him. I didn't get within a second of him. He could just turn it on like that.
He certainly was incredible. Now, what I want to talk about as well, because Whizzo's car, right? Over here. The
It's
grey Mini.
It's the tribute car.
The tribute car.
We built the car when Whizzo asked me to go down and race in his helmet colours. He was retiring, he announced his retirement. We was well on with the build, so we decided, the team are all out here with me, decided we was going to build the car in the honour of Whizzo. And the reason being with that, whenever I race, he's always in my head. So whenever I turn up somewhere, I hear what Whizzo said about this corner, that corner, where you brake. So I said, we're going to put his name on the car. We'll have a bit of orange on it, so it's got his helmet at the back of the window there. And we will always race in his honour. There's always a piece of Whizzo with me.
And you were racing this particular car when Whizzo passed?
Yeah, it's a 6 and 2-3 story. We went to Goodwood, we got the invite as the tribute to Whizzo, and unfortunately they called me into the office on the Saturday morning and said, Andy, can you come down and see us? And always at Goodwood you think, oh, have I done something, I parked in the wrong place, you know? And they said, look, sit down, we've got some sad news for you, that Whizzo passed away during the night. And so I came back to the team, I said, got some bad news, Whizzo's unfortunately passed away. So I rang Kathy, his partner. I said, Kathy, I'm sorry about the news, but we'll pull the entry. It's not a problem. I don't want to upset anybody. She says, you won't pull the entry. You will race in Whizzo's honour.
He would not have let you pull that entry either.
Yeah, and I went back to the team. I said, I've got the blessing of Kathy, so come on, let's cheer up. Because we were all upset. Everybody, that's the whole team. Everybody came and gave me a hug. Everybody come and saw us. People were signing his helmet. But everybody gave us the blessing. So
it's a lovely picture of you guys together there. Where was that taken?
That was taken at Bewley. He always used to come and find me at the Mini Cooper register there. And he'd always come and sort of greeted us like that. He'd come and find us in the hotel. He'd come and have his free meal and his free drinks. And that's all the pictures I've got are like that. They're all representative of that.
Yeah, beautiful picture. We've got some others up here as well. So this is one of the Minis that he obviously
That's
had.
the car that he took the first international win for a Cooper S. It's a famous car. It was Whizzo's, it's life. You know, we had it at work for quite a while doing some work, and during last season we did a couple of events in his honour, so we were always course opening car. There was a lot of publicity around it, and it was good. It was great to race the car and rally the car because it's so well known.
I think what's wonderful about Barrie's era of drivers in general, not just Whizzo, but a lot of his friends as well, is that the transition from rally to circuit racing seems so natural for them.
Whizzo's a natural. What you found with Whizzo and what he was very good at was nurturing young talent. So Richard Burns, God rest his soul, Whizzo taught him how to do donuts. He put him in a little Toyota Celica and sort of nurtured him along the way. He always found young talent because Whizzo were good at rallying and racing. I mean, he took me. I mean, he found time in me, and he was never nasty. He was never condescending. He always had good words. He always had a great way of putting things, and it made you understand. You know.
He had that encouraging personality, didn't he? That wonderful way of just pushing you forward with a smile and a little giggle.
Yeah, and we did well. You know, don't get me wrong. I've had many ear bashing from him when I've thrown a result away, because it were always me and not Whizzo that threw a result away. Another good story, we did the pageant of power one year, and I went down. I think I was the first car of the weekend, and I came back. I went, Whizzo, just be careful, it's slippy, it's greasy. Anyway, he disappeared. He came back, and we shoveled the car back to where we taken it from. He did, and every barrier on the track, he'd gone in the straw bales and got out and said, "There's something wrong with that car, sort it out." And that's how he was.
Let's go through. Oh, look at this one. It's got air in here.
Yeah, that's Whizzo in the passenger seat in the World Cup the Marathon Land Crab that we've got. He was as happy in the passenger seat as he was in the driver's seat. But you'd spend 5 minutes after you got back and he'd give you his advice and off you go again.
Fantastic. And this is one of my favourite pictures. This is a photo taken here at Race Retro. I can't remember what year. This must have been 5 years ago. And just such a beautiful picture. We're so lucky to still have so many of our friends here, with us.
But this is the thing about Whizzo, when you look at that picture and the legends that are in that picture. Whizzo would mix with legends and mix with club level drivers and all be the same. It'd be the same conversation with everybody.
Whizzo was very much passionate about the club motorsport. Goodwood was a massive part of his life.
Incredibly passionate about club motorsport because he knows that's where the roots of it are. You know, you'd see Whizzo at a Mighty Mini event in the middle of nowhere, you'd be surprised. He'd just pull up and young man and give you a hug, grab a coffee, and that's what he were like. You'd see him at Goodwood and you'd see him at a local club event. But don't forget, you'd also see Whizzo at a club show. You know, there'd be a little mini show somewhere and Whizzo would be there.
Well, tell me what's happening with this car this year, because you're going to be racing in Whizzo's honour. You've got his helmet colours?
Got his helmet colours. We'll be racing that car through the year during this mini 60 years. So obviously mini 60 years old this year. And as a tribute to Whizzo in such an iconic year, we're going to be racing it. But we're racing around Europe. There's a few events. It'll be the Silverstone Classic. We've got a driver we can't really announce yet who's showroom here at Silverstone Classic. We're at the tail end of sorting that deal out. But it's something Whizzo did a lot with. So we're hoping to put that together. And then who knows at the end of the season.
So Whizzo will be with us this season as well, and always in our hearts. Should we do something that Whizzo would have loved and make a hell of a lot of a noise for a man that was a huge part of our lives, a huge part of the motorsport world, and a man that will never ever be forgotten? Let's please raise a huge round of applause in the name of Barrie Whizzo Williams. Let's keep it going for Barrie, ladies and gentlemen. Come over and join us. Let's celebrate the wonderful Whizzo, the man that is so huge to our hearts and will never ever be forgotten. A man that loves the heckle, a man that loves the free drink, the free dinner, loves the cuddle, and loves the ladies, loves all his friends, and will never ever miss and never be a great friend. Love it so much. It's not easy. A man that we will never ever forget. We know a true legend, and we will rest in peace. A dear friend and a dear part of our family. Thank you all very, very much. Don't go anywhere. Join us.